You know that feeling. You're on Upwork, you spend ages crafting what feels like the perfect proposal. You hit send, and then crickets.
Oh, yeah, just silence. And you're competing against so many other freelancers. Getting noticed is often the biggest hurdle.
It really is. How do you even get a client's attention, let alone convince them you're the right person?
Well, that's exactly what we're digging into today. We want to explore strategies for writing Upwork proposals that actually stand out and, win the project.
Okay, so what's our guide for this?
We're looking at Winning Upwork Proposals, which is a guide by Jovan Sickmill. He also wrote The Unstoppable Freelancer.
Ah, okay.
And what makes this guide so useful, I think, is that it's not just theory. It's based on 10 real proposals. Proposals he actually used to win projects on Upwork.
Oh, that's great. So we get to see what actually worked in practice.
Exactly. And get this, he even points out the mistakes and imperfections in these winning proposals.
Really? Okay, that's actually quite reassuring. You don't have to be absolutely perfect.
Not at all. And by looking at these real-world examples, flaws and all, we can pull out some solid principles. So for you, the listener, if you want to get better at this quickly, this deep dive should give you some really actionable stuff for crafting proposals that cut through all that noise.
Sounds good. Let's get started. What's the first project example?
Right, first one up was for setting up subscriptions and payment processing on a membership website.
Okay, fairly standard stuff. What made the winning proposal, well, win?
A few key things. First off, the freelancer addressed the client, Charles, by name, right at the beginning.
Simple, but makes a difference, right? Shows you actually read the brief.
Totally. It signals personalization immediately. Think about it. If you're Charles and you get 50 proposals, the one that starts, "Hi, Charles," already feels a bit different.
Good point. What else?
They jumped right into establishing relevant expertise, mentioned working with Authorize.net, and Stripe big names in payment processing, exactly what the project needed.
So not just I know payments, but I know these specific payment systems.
Precisely. It shows direct, practical experience with the tools involved. Builds confidence fast.
And speaking of confidence,
Yeah, they projected it. The proposal said something like, "I can set up your billing subscriptions within a week." Clear time frame, sounds like they know their stuff.
definitely.
Yeah.
It wasn't just talk either, right? They showed they'd thought about the project itself.
Exactly. They asked clarifying questions which showed they understood enough to see potential issues, like needing more data. It suggests they're proactive, not just waiting for instructions.
Okay, thinking ahead. And one more thing.
Social proof. They invited Charles to check out their previous client feedback on Upwork. Let their track record speak for itself.
Right. So to sum up that one, personalize, show relevant expertise fast, be confident, ask smart questions, and use your reputation.
That's pretty much it. It's about showing you get their problem.
Okay, let's move to the second example. This one was just for a landing page, but the freelancer was new to the platform. How'd that work out?
Yeah, this one's interesting. First, the client didn't give a name, so the proposal just started with "Hi." Simple, direct.
Okay.
But the really key thing was honesty. They came right out and said, "My Odesk account is fairly new."
Wow, okay. That takes guts. Seems counterintuitive, maybe.
A little, yeah. But it felt authentic. And they didn't just leave it there. They immediately followed up with a strong offer.
Which was?
A 50% discount. Basically saying, "Look, I'm new here. Let me prove myself at a lower risk to you." It's a smart way to get those first crucial reviews.
Makes sense. Trading costs for credibility initially.
Right. And they also emphasized speed, promising a first draft in 2 days, and really stressed their commitment to getting happy clients. You could feel the eagerness.
So the lesson there is,
Yeah.
be transparent if you're new, but couple it with a compelling offer and show real commitment.
Exactly. Address the potential objection head on and turn it into a reason to hire you.
Got it. Got project 3.
Yeah.
Custom white label cart development. Sounds more technical.
It was. And the winning proposal reflected that. It started by asking smart, technical questions.
Like what?
Things about the existing tech stack. What PHP framework were they using? What payment terminal? Stuff like that.
So showing they understand the context, not just the task in isolation.
Precisely. It avoids assumptions, shows thoroughness. It tells the client, this person understands the integration challenges.
And they specifically addressed the white label part.
Yep, confirmed they understood that core requirement. And importantly, they also picked up on the client's concern about scalability. They explicitly said they had expertise in that and were committed to building something that could grow.
Addressing the client's worries directly. That builds trust.
Huge trust builder.
Yeah.
And then they offered a concrete next step.
Which was?
offering to have a peek at the code. A small typo in the original, actually, but the intent was clear. Let me look under the hood. It's proactive.
Right, so for technical projects, ask detailed questions, address specific needs and fears, propose a clear next step.
You got it. Show you're thinking like an engineer, not just a coder.
Okay, next one. Smart electrical wiring for safe doors. Sounds quite niche. The proposal was short.
Very short, and to the point, mirroring the job description, actually. First, it directly answered the client's question about using Canvas. Yes or no?
No fluff then.
None. Then immediately asked for more info. Did they have a database of door parts or examples? Basically, okay, I get the core idea. Now give me the specifics I need to scope it properly.
So direct answer, then ask for necessary details. Keep it brief if the project is brief.
That seems to be the takeaway. Match the client's communication style sometimes.
Makes sense. How about something more complex, like Project 5, a browser-based MMO strategy game? That requires a different approach, surely.
Oh, absolutely. For something big like that, you need to bring out the big guns experience-wise.
So what did the proposal do?
Led with senior full-stack development experience. Emphasize the level of expertise right away.
Important for a complex build.
Definitely. And interestingly, the client had mentioned using Unity, but the freelancer actually suggested alternatives.
Ooh. Like what?
Things like Flash or Node.js, and gave reasons why they might be better suited for a browser-based game. That shows real strategic thinking, not just taking orders.
So confidence to offer alternative solutions based on expertise.
Exactly. And they backed it up by mentioning experience with similar games like Tribal Wars, fantasy sports, and related skills like JavaScript frameworks, deep domain knowledge.
Okay, so for complex projects, highlight senior experience, offer strategic insights, even alternatives, and show deep, relevant domain understanding.
Spot on. You need to show you can handle the complexity.
All right. Project 6 was marked urgent, a form build with API integration. How do you handle urgent in a proposal?
You hit it head on. The absolute first thing this proposal did was address the urgency. It said, I can do this within 48 hours.
Wow, straight in there. That must grab attention if you're a client in a hurry.
Totally. It immediately answers their biggest pain point, but you can't just promise the moon.
Right. There must have been a condition.
Yes. They immediately added a condition. If they received all the necessary details promptly. Manages expectations. It says, I'm fast, but I need your help to be fast.
Smart. And then the skills.
Stated clearly and concisely, relevant programming skills, front end, back end, confirmed they understood the core tasks, API integration, saving to MySQL, no waffle.
So for urgent projects, address the deadline immediately. Set clear conditions, state relevant skills concisely, confirm understanding.
That's the formula. Be direct, be clear, be realistic.
Okay, Project 7, a solitaire card game. Seems simpler, maybe?
On the surface, yeah. But the winning proposal here really leveraged specific past work. They mentioned having built web-based card games before.
Direct relevance again.
And even better, they mentioned having a pre-designed pack of cards ready to use. That screams efficiency to a client.
Nice. Using existing assets, did they ask questions too?
Yeah. Specific ones. Do scores need saving? Any special features? What's the existing website or tech stack? Shows they're thinking about the details, the actual implementation.
Right, not just the basic concept.
And then expressed confidence they could nail it once those details were clear. So highlight super relevant past work, ask clarifying questions about features and context, and show confidence based on that experience.
Got it. Number 8 was a medical symptom treatment calculator. Specialized field.
Very. And for specialized fields, domain expertise is king. This proposal led with that immediately.
How so?
Stated experience creating financial and medical calculators. And then the kicker mentioned one was actually used in a UK hospital.
Wow, that's instant credibility right there. Hard to argue with.
Exactly. Powerful social proof built right in. They also invited the client to check their profile for more feedback. And interestingly, the guide says this proposal was quite brief.
So sometimes just leading with that killer domain expertise is enough.
It seems so. If your experience is that relevant and credible, you might not need much else. Focus on the proof.
Okay, number 9, a smart canvas drawing app. We talked about an electrical wiring app earlier. Was there a connection?
Yes, and the proposer made that connection explicit. They answered the client's question directly, like in the wiring app example.
Okay.
But then they specifically referenced that previous electrical wiring app project. Even though it wasn't identical, it showed relevant experience with Canvas and visual applications, transferable skills.
Smart move. Leveraging related projects.
And they asked a specific question, too, about the geometric shapes needed for the app. Again, drilling down into the functional requirements.
So direct communication, leverage related experience, ask specific clarifying questions. Seems like a pattern.
It really does. These core principles keep popping up.
Okay, last one. Project 10. A fantasy sports game. Specifically capture pools. Another domain-specific one.
Sort of. The winning proposal started by expressing genuine interest, mentioning some background in fantasy sports and stats.
So,
Builds rapport.
shows you care about the subject matter.
Right. But then, crucially, they were honest about not knowing the specific capture pools mechanic. They said they'd need some instruction on that.
Again, with the transparency.
Yeah.
It seems to work.
It really does build trust, I think. They didn't try to bluff. Instead, they suggested a way to overcome it. Invited the client to check their Upwork profile, but also suggested a quick call with screen sharing. The goal was to understand the client's idea better, maybe look at competitor sites together.
Proactive collaboration. Let's figure this out together.
Exactly. So show interest, be honest about knowledge gaps, but offer a collaborative solution to fill those gaps.
Okay, so we looked at 10 different projects, 10 winning proposals. Stepping back, what are the big overarching takeaways here, the core principles?
Well, the absolute biggest one, I think, running through almost all of them, is making it about the client. Understand their project, yes, but also try to understand their underlying needs, their potential doubts. What are they really trying to achieve?
So shifting the focus from here's how great I am to here's how I understand your problem and can solve it.
Precisely. And tied to that is avoiding generic copy-paste proposals. Clients can spot them a mile off. You've got to be unique, tailor it.
Which includes tailoring your work samples, right? Not just sending your whole portfolio.
Absolutely. Pick the samples that directly relate to this client's project. Show them you've thought about relevance.
The asking questions thing seems huge too.
It really is. Good questions show you've actually engaged with the brief, you're thinking it through, you're anticipating potential issues. It demonstrates competence just as much as listing skills does.
Even if your portfolio isn't, the absolute strongest.
Especially then, if your portfolio is still developing, focus hard on showing how your skills apply to this specific project. Draw those lines clearly for the client. Show deep understanding of their need.
And you mentioned these aren't just Upwork tricks, right? These ideas apply more broadly.
Definitely. These principles, understanding your audience, personalizing your message, demonstrating value clearly, communicating directly, building trust, they work everywhere. Other freelance sites, sure, but also job applications, cold emails, any kind of persuasive communication, really. It's basic human psychology in a way.
That's a great point. It's about effective communication, fundamentally.
Exactly.
Okay, so just to quickly recap for everyone listening, we've gone through 10 real winning Upwork proposals. We saw the power of things like personalization, getting straight to relevant expertise, asking those insightful questions, and using social proof effectively.
And hopefully seeing those concrete examples gives you, the listener, some really practical ideas to try out in your own proposals starting today.
So here's something to maybe mull over after this deep dive. How can you really make that mental shift? Move away from just listing what you can do and focus intently on understanding and addressing what each specific client needs and might be worried about. What small tweak in your approach, maybe just in how you frame things, could actually lead to a lot more wins. Perhaps even dig a bit into the psychology of trust and value in writing. It might unlock more opportunities than you think.